Hello, Sinead here, back with another video in this Pluto series, and today I'm going to be speaking on Pluto's transit through Sidereal Sagittarius. Now, Pluto has been transiting through Sidereal Sagittarius since approximately 2005 up until this year of 2020. Now, to recap, what is Pluto? Pluto is a great malefic. It is propaganda. It's accelerated success and death. It's media, it's toxic patterns of behavior. Pluto seeks to expose who we are at our core. It's what remains of us after we die because of its link to death, rebirth, and transformation. The cycle of life. It's your final destination. So Pluto is your legacy. It's how you are remembered. Now, Sagittarius and this ninth house energy. And remember, back in my Pluto in Sidereal Gemini video, I discussed and described briefly the relationship Pluto has with mercurial energy, that vibration. And Pluto was discovered during that transit back in 1933. So this is the opposite end. This is that same axis. So what we've seen is extreme fluctuations in finance, in global markets. We've seen excessive travel. We've seen people venture outside of themselves in search of something new. There's an excessive amount of professionals who have postgraduate degrees. There's been extreme levels of poverty and exploitation, as well as an over-exertion and overabundance of wealth and excess. So we've seen two extremes in terms of people's monetary wealth and resources. We've seen a rise in poverty levels. We've seen a rise in the number of billionaires. We've seen industries rise up like fast fashion. We've seen individuals connect with toxic ideologies. So the toxic versions of religious doctrine. We've seen cult leaders and the ideologies and propagandas attached to that. We've seen, governments being toppled, regimes being overthrown because of toxic ideologies, and new, more toxic ideologies in some cases take over. And with all this excess travel, more people venturing outside of their birthplace, going on pilgrimages, we've also seen the global food market expand, where you can buy fresh jackfruit. You've seen a rise in veganism. You've seen the two extremes, because Pluto is all about extremes. You've seen those who've become awakened and moved towards the light, and you've seen those who are severely lost, those who have stumbled, those who are searching for themselves, searching for the divine. They don't know what to believe in anymore. So those who have found the righteous path and those who veered off it, those who were never on it, becoming more lost, becoming more tortured. We've seen the choice between the spiritual and the material world with this Sagittarius and Gemini axis. And also in terms of the mutilation aspect, that always comes in with Pluto. What is Sagittarius? Sagittarius is the hips. We're in the lower region of the body. So that's why you've seen Brazilian butt lifts, BBLs, be so prevalent. People are mutilating themselves almost like a centaur. It's, that ridiculously exaggerated posterior. You've seen a rise in a need to succeed. Everyone wants to be the person on top. everyone being extravagant. Because of the Pluto energy, you're seeing a more malefic side of Jupiter. Because we always talk about Saturn being a malefic and Jupiter being the great benefic. But if anything, this transit has taught me how malefic Jupiter actually can be when it's unrestrained. And that's why we need Saturn. You need some level of discipline or restraint. You need to endure in order to fully appreciate your blessings. Because blessings are all about being responsible. Because they're to serve a greater purpose. Anything you're blessed with, it isn't purely for your enjoyment. That's moon energy. That's lunar energy, that desire to only fulfill your own wants and needs. But ultimately, desires and lunar energy, when it fulfills its highest potential and it's in alignment with the higher realm, it's about that maternal energy, that nurturing energy. And that's where you bring in even Venus, that Taurus moon energy of sustaining, being self-sacrificing. So with this excess of Jupiter energy, that's why you've seen this disconnect, especially with the 1%, those who are wealthy. You've seen a greater disconnect, a greater disregard for those who are being exploited in order for them to be on top. You're seeing people now more than ever questioning their religious leaders who have these big houses, these fancy cars, who are driving past them, who are constantly reminding them to pay their tithes, to donate. You're seeing people question and the veil being stripped back of charities that exploit those they claim to help. How long are you going to be bringing water to Africa? How long are you going to be bringing them food and clothing? This white savior propaganda is all being questioned because of how toxic it is. And of course, with all things related to Pluto, none of these things just sprung up overnight during this transit. They've been here, but this transit has just pushed them further to that extreme. Now most people have so many alternatives. There's so many exotic fruits and vegetables that you didn't have access to before because of Pluto being in Sagittarius. There's individuals who didn't own a passport before, never left their hometown, who have travelled, who've been on an aeroplane during this transit, who've seen something of the world, who've gained something that may very well be positive. But of course, the negative side, the malefic side, is all these people with postgraduate degrees and no job. Because the demand isn't there when everyone has these higher levels of education and there aren't enough positions to go around, and there's been this war on talent and this suppression and people walking into those same jobs because of their connections, not because of a degree. There's been the college admissions scandal in the United States. All of this is Pluto in Sagittarius. So now, as this transit has come to an end and we move into Pluto in Sidereal Capricorn, and remember in my previous videos I said whenever Pluto changes signs, you have to look at 2 years before it changes signs and 2 years after to take into account retrogrades for that influence it may have on the previous sign and the sign it's going into. So we've already been experiencing some of that Pluto in Sidereal Capricorn with the government, especially this year of 2020. We've already seen the long-lasting impact of Pluto in Sagittarius. And we can see how the two have linked, especially this year when so many were unable to get their grades to enter university. So many aren't having the experience they thought they would have at university because of the P word, you know, the paragraph, the panoramic, the pandemic. So this is my brief description of Pluto's transit through Sidereal Sagittarius. Check the description box as always, and I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.